Hey guys, with the new release of Squad 5.0 adding the two new major factions, the Russian Airborne VDV and the People Liberation Army's Marine Corps Division, I thought I'd make a video covering each and what they bring to the table, what new equipment they have, if any, and my overall thoughts on them and how well they fit in the squad. Starting with the squad leader roles for the VDV faction, we see that they come equipped with the new rifle, the AK-12, in three different variants. The AK-12 iron sights, the AK-12 with a hollow sight, and the AK-12 with a magnified sight. The squad lead kits are pretty normal except for the one fact that they come with a grenade launcher. This is the only other faction besides the irregular militia forces to do this, so this is actually really nice to see. This will give them something different that makes them stand out from at least most of the other factions. And there is a slight UI error on the magnified scope. It says instead of smoke grenades it has more HE, but I went in the game and have confirmed it is the same. It's just a small UI error that I'm assuming will get patched in a future update. Next up we have the lead crewman. Nothing extraordinary here, your typical setup. The lead pilot kit is also pretty typical, no big changes here. The medic class is your standard medic class. You get the AK-12 with both the options of a hollow sight and a actual magnified sight, so medics will be pretty happy that they don't have to use iron sights. Biggest difference being that the iron sight gets a grenade and one extra magazine compared to the scope version. So you may want to actually consider taking the hollow in this case for a little extra firepower. And once again, just a normal crewman kit, nothing special again. And next up, the pilot class, which is your normal pilot class except for the fact that there's a slight maybe oversight with them getting 7 mags. Not sure if this is accidental or not, but we'll have to see in the future, I guess. Next up is the rifleman and its variations for the VDV. They get the new service rifle, the AK-12, in 3 different variants. The AK-12 with a foregrip with iron sights, the AK-12 the foregrip and the hollow sight, and the AK-12 with a foregrip and the magnified sight. Now, I also thought this would be the perfect time to go ahead and show off the AK-12, in this case using the hollow sight. And I have to say, this is probably now my favorite service rifle in game. I found it has almost no recoil whatsoever. It's very easily controlled. The hollow sight is just great. I love the hollow sight. Single fire, fully auto, fast single fire, semi-auto fire, it just works. It works so well. I have no complaints about this rifle. Next up, the automatic rifleman, standard one. I get the RPK, no sight, sidearm, grenade, about it. And unarmed, I guess, exists. We also have the automatic rifleman with the scoped RPK. I would prefer this over the normal RPK. Love me a good scope. Next up is the Grenadier. This one is your typical Grenadier class. AK-12 with a hollow sight, with 10 frags, but 6 smokes, all white, no colored. Next we move on to the light anti-tank. Big differences here is that with the hollow sight, you're getting a non-scoped RPG-7 with 2 HEAT, 2 fragmentation, and with the scoped, you get a scoped RPG, but you only get 1 high explosive anti-tank shot and 2 fragmentation. I think in this case, I might take the hollow. Next up, we have the newest and only class of its kind in the game, the Scout class, with a new weapon, the Asval, a suppressed SMG firing 9mm. This gun is kind of well known by people. I remember it was personally a favorite in Battlefield 4, so it's nice to see it be in this game as well, as it is, Project Reality's successor. But this kit is really only that gun. There's nothing else. It's an Asval, which is a 20-round SMG with 6 mags, I think. A sidearm. No grenades. I don't really get this class. It doesn't really make sense to me besides being a CQB-based class. The gun's fun to use, though. I think I'd prefer an AK-12, though, unless I'm in very close quarters. Otherwise, I'm not that impressed. Still kind of cool to see, I guess. Next up, the PKP makes a return with just iron sight to sidearm. That's really about it. It's okay. Next up, we have the hat kit, which again, we have 2 different variations. The hollow, which you get 2 of the heavier anti-tank rounds and 2 frag. But for the scoped variant, we get only 1 of the heavier anti-tank rounds and a high explosive anti-tank. In this case, I'm going to take the hollow sight yet again. Next up, we get the combat engineer, and this is typical Russian combat engineer. Get the AK-12 with iron sights, 30-second time TNT explosive, 3 anti-tank mines. Nothing special. And now my new favorite class addition, the sniper, using the SV98. And I'm so excited to have another faction with a good sniper, just like the Canadians. This thing is awesome to use. I used it in the training range, and I was easily hitting shots at 300 with the bipod on, and also with it not on. The scope is a little bit strange. It took a minute to get used to. I'm pretty sure the way it works is that the caret there in the middle is the normal one you would use. Below that, it then goes by 300, I think. So the caret below the normal one is 300, and then it goes 600 to 900. But this is such a good gun to use. It feels really nice, and I hope to use it soon, get to try it out in an actual match. I'm so excited. Next up is the vehicles for the VDV faction. The first one we'll be looking at, and by looking at, I pretty much just mean right here, looking at it. It's the T-72. We've seen this before. I don't really feel a need to cover it. We all know what it does. It's an MBT. It's like the rest of the Russian forces, what they have. But this thing is absolutely worth covering and going inside of. This is the Sprut. It is the T-72 gun mounted on an amphibious vehicle hull. This thing is so cool. It is just, this thing is just awesome. It's so nice to see a different vehicle in the game with something with a tank gun on it. And it's also amphibious, so it makes maps that have amphibious crossings a little bit more interesting with something like this. Now, what does it have in it? Pretty much the same thing a T-72 does. You get the armor-piercing sabot, the fragmentation, high-explosive anti-tank, some anti-tank missiles, smoke launcher, the PKT, same reticle, same everything, but still, nonetheless, pretty awesome to use. Testing it out in the firing range, I found everything worked pretty much the same. There's nothing different. It's cool to use. Give it a try. Alright, next up we have the BMD-4, and this is definitely an interesting vehicle. Looks like an IFV with a tank cannon on it, but what it really actually has is, well, an autocannon and a tank cannon. It has both a 30mm autocannon and a 100mm gun. So this thing can fight other vehicles, take care of infantry. It's pretty cool. Also has some anti-tank missiles. The reticle is a little strange. So the middle one, the full zoom in, is only for the 30mm and the laser tank guide. The ranging marks are pretty accurate. As you see here, I can hit vehicles pretty easily. The 100mm gun is going to use the second magnification level. The most outzoomed one, as you can see here, is kind of useless. Can't really see ranging marks at all. But the 100mm gun has a ton of drop off, as you can see, and it's a bit hard to figure out. It took me a second, but you actually have to range with that little caret in the middle, I believe. But when I finally figured that out, I was actually able to hit targets finally. But this thing is pretty cool. I can't wait to see it. Amphibious, 30mm autocannon, and a tank gun. It's got a little bit of everything. It's going to be exciting to see how it does. And next up here we have the BMD-1. This thing we already have in the game. I guess it's interesting. It's not really interesting to me. It's got, I can't say for sure what the gun is. I forget, but whatever it is, it has a ton of drop on it. The ranging table is decent. It's okay. It's got two different types. I think a high explosive anti-tank and a fragmentation shot, along with an MG and 40mm smoke launchers. A decent infantry supporting vehicle, but not what I would want to use right away, at least. And now I'll look at for some of the APC type vehicles that were added to the VDV faction. We have an APC armed with an RWS, which is really nice to have, but also a front-facing machine gun and some smoke launchers, and the BTR, I think ZD is what it's called. This thing is armed to the teeth with I think it's a 23mm ZSU anti-aircraft cannon mounted to the top, a Cord HMG, and I actually didn't notice these at first, but these two portholes are actually two more machine guns. So there's 4 weapon spots, a driver, but also some room for infantry, so something cool to kind of see. Next up is the version without the anti-aircraft gun mounted to the top. Still got the Cord, 2 porthole guns, And sitting right next to her, the BRDM Scout Car. This thing is pretty cool. I like using this thing. You don't need a crewman kit to operate it, and it's got some decent firepower. This time, the APC without the cord gun, just the 2 porthole machine guns on the front, and the logistical version. Nice little armored logistic. I always don't mind those. And the 2 trucks, which are the, well, classic truck they use. Next up, the Mi-8. The helicopter is, I think, the same Mi-8, except with a fancy paint job. I like it, though. It's gray. It looks more naval to me, I guess, though. I wish they would have painted the inside, too. It kind of stands out. But that's it. That's everything added with the new VDV faction. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions about anything else I can cover, let me know. I may know an answer. I don't know. Sometimes I don't. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you like videos like these, please consider subscribing, liking the video. I will do one for the PLA next, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.